Good evening, and thank you for joining Sunday Evening with Reverend Sue. We are again excited about our guest. I call him Mr. Peters. Mr. Peters is an on the go Gen Z. He has been working in politics for many years. I think he started out when he was probably was 2 or 3 years old. So he is hot. He's ready. He's doing a lot of work, not only where he's from in Arkansas, he's calling from Arkansas, but all over this country and I believe internationally as well. So, Mr. Peters, it's an honor to have you with us today. And we thank you for taking the time to be with us to talk about pretty much Gen Zs. So you have a couple words to say. Thank you, and we just waiting to hear from you.
Yes, ma'am. So, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be on your platform.
Mhm.
But I do want to set the record straight.
Okay.
So my birthday is November 21st, 1996, and I want to stick to. I am not Gen Z. I am a month and some change away from being that, but that's not me. The last of the millennials.
You're like, oh, you're millennial now. I mean, that's like a million plus thousands and millions of people. But Gen Z got you beat, right?
Yeah, it's right there in 1997. From what I look at, it starts in
You're
1997.
right.
Some people still tell me that I'm Gen Z, but I as close as I am to them, I wanna say that I'm a millennial, but
That's
no,
I know you have the knowledge. That's the most important thing. You out there, you're making a difference in our
yes,
world.
ma'am.
Even millennials, or even with me as a oh my goodness, what am I, baby boomer? I mean, you got my attention, and I'm a baby boomer. So from baby boomers all the way down to the Z's, you're out there and you're doing the work that we want to talk to you about. There's been some things on our mind. Our producer, Mr. M. Green, as well. We talked about having this feeling about what's happening to our young people, what's happening to, I would say, the millennials, but as well as the Gen Zs. I keep hearing things about the democracy and is working well with our young people, not working well with our young people. Can you just talk a little bit from that perspective? Is that where are we in this country in reference to Gen Z population?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say I like the way you said. Is it? 'Cause some people say it's working with us. Some people say it's working against us. Just because I think it is that dynamic. Like
Mhm.
when we live in the midst of big people movements, that's really been with us since about really since Obama, but the aftermath of him being in office,
Mhm. Mhm.
um, it's kind of hard to identify specifically what is growth and what's not growth, what's for us and what's not for us, when until we are able to look at the perspective from out of the time period. Honestly, we have to to make it simple, make it plain. In the during the For instance, even when jobs were going overseas after as a result of the civil rights movement and taking away these industry jobs from a lot of working class black people, in that moment, people, they might can identify the problem is what's going on, but a lot of times I still got to pay my bills. I got to figure it out regardless.
Mhm.
So by the time you usher in this wave of crack and drugs in our communities, a lot of times we don't really see until after, after the fact. So that's a big question that you're asking, and I could honestly say
Mhm.
it depends on how you look at it. Because I talk to people who still, are heavily involved in politics, and I talk to people who work at the warehouse, and they're not worried about what's going on in politics, even if it is affecting them. Like I said, people are worried about paying bills, and the economy is right, like the prices and everything. So I think for me, I look at people in Memphis like Justin Pearson, and I see what he's doing, and I think that's him making democracy work for for the better good. And I think if you're a black person, that's what it's always been, and that's what it's actually gonna have to be. Because you go all the way back 100 years ago, we come back from World War I, and the first thing that you see is us getting denied from jobs and us still being lynched and things of that nature. So it's us who have to continually make democracy work for us. And I hope I'm answering your question
You
because I
you
could
are
ramble.
answering, you're answering the question. We need to. The thing is about how we feel and where the influencers are they, the social
Hmm.
media, where you're getting this, where the Gen G's getting this information. But the most important thing that I feel right now, and that's why we zoning in with the young people, whether they think,
Hmm.
where are they, because we need to win the midterms. What can we do to win?
Yeah.
Bills and the economy is politics.
Um.
It's politics. If you, I
No.
worry about.
Yeah.
I don't like bread. I don't need to eat bread because it's fattening for me. But I like a little bit bread. I mean, I'm giving bread costs a lot of money now. Eggs cost a lot of money now, and things continue to rise. Gas is unbelievable. So with that in mind, they are concerned about their food. They're concerned about how they're going to get the next meal.
Hmm.
But if they don't vote, I feel, then that's going to be an issue that I'm not saying guarantee it's going to go down, but it has a slim chance that gas is going to go down. I mean, so those are political things. When we go to the store and shop, that's political.
Hmm.
Whether we get clothes, whether we get children for, clothes for kids, or our education, this all politics. I believe that being an older person is that we need to learn more about what is politics and not being, and people say
Hmm. Hmm.
religion and politics don't go together. Y'all hear young people say that, what are we doing? When I go back and I say, well, Jerusalem, you look at Jerusalem, Jesus went to Jerusalem, approached Jerusalem, right? And then you had on the east side, or the west side, on the west side, you had horses. Horses, remember, of wars. They were there. Thousands and thousands of people was in Jerusalem. And why did we want to crucify our Jesus? Why? Why? Political had too much power. Too much power.
Hmm.
So when people say, well, we don't do religion, yes, you do, because the Bible consists of a lot of political issues. And I think you, as a leader, they need your voice because they need to hear the truth and understand what politics is, and not being negative about it, but go after it. The opportunity to vote and think about history, our history ourselves. If you used to think about history, where my father almost one, they said many things that he had to go through to vote. You hear those stories all the time.
Hmm.
To vote, and I think with you, I'm not telling you how to do it because I know about you. Your background is that you're out there working, but I think that's why I asked, who are the influencers? You are an influencer right now, and it's very critical
Hmm.
your voice. And going back to who are the influencers? Where are they getting this information from? And maybe that's the question I would ask you.
No.
Mhm, where are they getting this?
No. I'm I'm gonna say a couple things. The first one, I do think it's imperative that we win these upcoming elections. We have to. I think the way that we win, and I've talked to people about this for probably about the last year now.
Mm-hmm,
If you're in a place, for instance, like Arkansas, I can speak on that. Any
mm-hmm,
place that has a lot of rural areas, you have to figure out how to pitch a tent. We have a region, it's called the Delta region. It goes, it's connected to Mississippi, connected to Memphis. We have Eastern Arkansas. So I tell anybody who's running on a statewide election, if you want to win, you got to figure out how to pitch a tent out there, and you can't leave that place because so many unregistered voters. Like if you don't do this in whatever area you're in, you're fighting a battle that you're just not gonna win. You have to figure out how to pitch a tent in these
mm-hmm,
rural areas and actually,
mm-hmm,
continue to meet people door to door because the people who, are going up against the candidates we want to win, a lot of times they have money for mailers, and not to say that we shouldn't have money for mailers, because at some point we should, but
Right,
they
right.
do a lot more TV commercials, a lot more of that type of media. So because we don't raise as much money, and because we actually have people who will go out and canvas for us, we need to use those type of we have to continue with the strategies that work, the same strategies that work then work now when it comes to winning elections, getting people registered to vote.
Mm-hmm.
um but as far as influence, you asked about influence. I think a lot of the big influences um come from local artists in general. For
Mm-hmm.
instance, my cousin Kyla Kroom, she's a great artist. She's still in high school, but the artwork she decides to paint, draw, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
always has to do with the struggle, whether it's overcoming the struggle or just showing beauty and blackness. So I think those type of people are the artists always tell the true climate of where the people are. Now the
Mm-hmm.
problem is the industry's effect on what type of artists we get to see on a public level, because the best artists are always going to be the local artists. But as far as what the mass media is pushing as who's influential and who's not, I think it's always interesting to see who who gets invited to do what. I think that's important. But like I said, the biggest artists, the biggest influencers I know are a lot of times artists. Another one is Penn Davis. He's a upcoming. He's a rapper. He's real conscious. He's gonna tell you what's going on. The
Interesting.
governor is
Mm-hmm.
is is making some. She's doing banning African American studies, and doing these types of things, and calling woke studies, banning it. He's on Facebook, talking to his 5,000 followers on Facebook, on that platform, and that's a lot of people, telling them, what's going on, and it's okay to feel like, the people in power are saying and doing dumb things. Like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
because it's the truth.
Mm-hmm. So you are, mm, I'm thinking that when you back and say that the artists,
Hmm.
people come, the influencer, the communication is so the communication perhaps is a little different than it was way back when. The coming, so we have to know how do
Hmm.
do we have to know how to get to the young people, how to communicate with them, and doing that, you're talking about art itself. Where are they, and how, and not necessarily depend on the old way of communicating, but know them well enough to grab their attention. That's what you're saying, and it could be through the arts.
Yeah, it's through the arts, and then I think just in general, to anybody who's viewing, watching, it's we know this, but it's just so important to be just well rounded in general. So I can't go to the same source to get everything that I need, because these people aren't God. Like, God is the true source, God is the vessel. But as far as the things that we need on earth, whether it's education, like can't call the lady's name right now, but she gives these she's on Instagram, TikTok, and
Mm-hmm.
she's educating on everything that's happening all over the country politically and
Mm-hmm.
how it affects us. I can't remember her name for any. I'm gonna remember as soon as I get off the
So
phone.
basically, so when I'm getting some things down, when you're saying that, first of all, like I'm a baby boomer, to understand, to be around, to what bring, how can we get disease,
Hmm.
understand the importance of registering to vote, and the importance of voting. It could be different now than it was 20 years ago. It could be different now, even 10 years
Hmm.
ago, or maybe 4 years ago. And the ways that you think is not working, one way is through the arts. through
through
the.
the arts for sure, because when through local artists you're gonna meet local people. Local people go to local art shows.
So the art shows are
Um,
really telling stories because art is telling stories.
artists are telling the stories, and even if you look at, because I don't think we're so far disconnected from history. Like when you look at the civil rights movement of the '60s, Dr. King and James Brown used to open up for him. Like these are things that have happened before, just the evolution of it. What is it gonna look like now? So I think just being intentional with knowing who is in your given city, the local artists in your given city. If you know that you have to go, if you have not a debate, but for instance a fundraiser. Maybe you have a local artist, open up
Yeah.
for the fundraiser, because in doing that, you tap into that friend group. You tap into the people who follow them on Instagram. It's just different stuff like that that I think we have to get back into. People still do it, but I think it just needs to be, like I said, more well known that James Brown opened up for Martin Luther King. Like these things aren't disconnected. The artists are
I
the ones.
understand what you're saying. A
Yeah.
incident here that I'm thinking I did a study on the black farmers and what's happening now. Small farmers now in rural America is that they're fighting, dealing with hawks, hawks. Period, and they have wild hogs that bring in diseases, and when
Mhm.
they attack their herds, those hogs have to be killed. They're on their farm.
Mhm.
So I talked to several small farmers, and they're suffering because of that. They have to kill their hogs because now trying to get funds available for, especially the black farmers, is an issue. So I was thinking that's an art, as art itself. You have a section, and to educate the general Gen Zs about what some small farmers are going through. It can be literally an art show,
Mhm.
and then they get it. That's what we're saying. They really actually, oh, I understand now what's happening. Instead of sending up their lecturing about what's happening, you're showing it through creative art. I didn't get that. The question I do have for you now, you do believe in voting,
Oh yeah, yes, ma'am.
right? So you're a follower, and so how can older black baby boomers help you reach those unregistered voters? How can my age, the baby boomer, help to reach the young people as far as voting?
Ooh, I think just I can't say that y'all do a bad job, and the reason why I say that, I want to give y'all a lot of credit. Um, I want to give y'all a lot of credit just because if if nothing else, it's gonna be some black women leading the cause when it comes to being at the polls, going out on Saturday morning, canvassing, any of those things. It's gonna be black women. They might not all be baby boomers, but from the ages of, like, a lot of times 35 to until they can't walk anymore. Until y'all can't walk anymore, y'all are pushing that as an issue. So that I can't say that I don't that's something I have to think about,
Mm-hmm.
just because you always have been so intentional with that. I don't know. I think the it's just the disconnect, I think, comes from a lot of times what's perceived as important
Okay.
and important to us, like to uh Gen Z and millennials, is what's perceived as important and why.
So
And a
you could
lot
say that some really looking at my statistics is that some Gen Z feel like it's not important to vote.
right, right.
They gave up on American political situation issues. And what I'm saying is that we are saying in population it is important to vote because what they need has everything to do with politics. They need food. They need housing. They need clothing. They need education. That's this political. And I think when we understand, or young people try to understand what that is, it's not negative. It's real. It's political.
Yeah, and
And
it's something that in my opinion, you could look at it in a couple ways. I think because you mentioned the Bible, you mentioned Jesus earlier,
right.
and it was a man who came up to Jesus with a coin, and he said, "Who should I give this unto?" And he said, "Whose face?" Jesus said, "Whose face is on?" He said, "Caesar's face is on." He said, "Give unto Caesar that which is Caesar." So the way that I view that, whenever I hear that story and think about it, it's like as long as we're living within this system, we have to play p- politics how the rules are. And we have to play how the rules are. So voting is important. Voting is going to be important. I think it's always going to be some form of system in terms of how order comes, but at the same time, voting voting is going to be important until collectively somebody says that okay, it's time to overthrow the government. If that's not what we're trying to do, we need to go vote. Like, and I don't mean to sound crazy or anything like that, but that's just what it is. Like, my thing is, why ignore it? If you're gonna ignore it, you might as well just vote for who your grandma told you to go vote for. Like, at the end of the day, these things do affect us. These things do have a role to play until, because the way that I read that, give unto Caesar, is if give the coin back at that point. But if we're not ready to do that, if we're not prepared to be
Mhm.
quote unquote radical or whatever the case may be, yes, we need to do those
Mhm.
things. We need to vote. We need to register to vote.
I really agree with that. I mean, because you talk to young people all the time, and I like the idea about the artwork because it's just so many ways you can get to people without one way.
Hmm.
If you have determined that art is the thing to get to people, then you use art. You know, if that's the way to get the young people together and explain to them from an artistic perspective, then you do that. Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying, to continue to do that with the people you work with. But then the most important thing, the goal is to get them understanding from a political environment. It's real. And that we have that freedom right now, trying to take that away, but to vote. But understand why you're voting. Understand who you're voting for. Understand the significance of how it's going to affect your job and affect your food and your housing and everything that you do, because that's how the system is set up.
Hmm.
It's a country where we deal with political issues. And so with that in mind, it's important to vote.
No, I'm with you. I think that it is important. Is anybody watching that maybe a campaign manager or running for office or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that? I think those are some important things to take away. Like, if your candidate has an event, get the hottest singers, rappers, whatever. Ask them to open up for you. Of course, um, make sure that the message of what they're pushing can be aligned with what you're pushing politically, but at the same time, go that extra mile, because when you do, they have people who may be on their Instagram page or even that might come to the event that would have otherwise not shown up or not been able to view you. So I think that's one thing. And then the other thing is just always like have the voting forms on standby. So you never know. You might be able to drop some off at the church. You might
Mm-hmm.
be talking to a young person and you just bring it up. Like, a lot of people don't know that getting registered to vote isn't a crazy long process. Like, it's not something that takes a million years for the most part.
Right.
So it's just like a lot of times when we don't know, so we just don't do it. So I think
Mm-hmm.
just having things on standby,
Having
uh
Right. Having things ready when you invite people, we're going to close in a second, but to invite people, your Gen Zs or millennials, the old people, millennials, and even baby boomers, a twin affair, you have a purpose,
Mm-hmm.
and you know what you bringing the people together for, and you think you have thought out every way to bring them to get them there. And if it's an art, then that's good. You use art, and I like that idea. I like that idea, and have everything ready for them to vote, to register to vote, and to vote.
Mm-hmm.
If it take art going to the polls and having them out there, then you do that as well. But the most important thing, Mr. Peters, is thank you for joining us today. Is that they have to vote,
For sure.
and I'm holding you accountable for every state near Arkansas. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's a blessing to have you here, and you continue to do the work that God has called you to do. And we'll be back in touch with you, so you can keep us updated about all the things that are happening in your state and in your surrounding state as well. But it's critical that Gen Zs, young people, vote.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much
I
for
want to see that
having me.
percentage go up. It's too low for me right now. I'm going to hold you accountable with
Yes,
some
ma'am.
other young people to push that up within the next couple of days. It's important to do that. So thank you.
Yes,
And,
ma'am. Thank you so much for having me, and I can't wait to see, what's gonna be what's next. Because I think this is a powerful movement that you're pushing, and I can't wait to see what you do next.
oh, thank you so much. Stay
Yes,
tuned.
ma'am.
You've been listening to Sunday Evening with Reverend Sue and our guest Wesley Peters from Arkansas. May
Everybody get
God
their
continue to
license
bless
back.
you.
Grocery store food better. Custody of your kids back. Homeless people get new shelters. If we gon' fix the U.S., we gotta start with them 2 letters. Me and you. Somebody told us that the government wanna keep us broke. But the only reason why those people in the government is cause we ain't vote. And I ain't talking about the president. I'm talking about the ones we ain't know. See, they was gonna try to keep it low, but it's gonna hurt them when they see the polls.
Every time you stay home, someone is making a decision about you, making decisions about the air you breathe, the water you drink, the food your kids eat, and how much money you bring home every 2 weeks. So every time you sit out an election, every time you don't show up because you think it doesn't matter, someone else is happy that you didn't show up so they can make that decision for you. Vote.